Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a really ancient text that's probably not what you think it is. It's less about getting into pretzel poses and way more about getting a handle on your own mind. We're talking about the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which is basically a user's manual for your own consciousness. So let's just jump right in with a question that people have been asking for thousands of years. It's the very question the Yoga Sutras were written to answer. I mean, if you've ever tried to just sit still, even for 60 seconds, you know the deal, right? The mind just will not shut up. So what is going on in there?
Well, first things first, the sutras diagnose the problem. The text says that our natural mental state is pretty much constant chaotic flux. And get this, it's not a personal failing. It's not like you're bad at this. It's just the default setting of the human mind. The whole journey begins by just admitting that, yep, our minds are fundamentally restless.
And right away, the text redefines yoga in a way that might totally surprise you. You got to forget what you see on Instagram. The second verse of the entire book defines yoga as the skill of mastering the endless thought patterns, these modifications of the mind. So the goal isn't a perfect handstand, it's a still mind.
The sutras actually break down all our mental activity into 5 basic types. They're called vrittis. You can think of them as the 5 channels of mental static that are always on. So you've got correct information coming in, you've got misunderstandings, you've got pure fantasy, you've got the total blankness of deep sleep, and then there's just plain old memory popping up. Your mind is always producing one of these. But wait, it gets even deeper. These thought patterns then get colored by something the sutras call the kleshas. These are the 5 root causes of all our mental and emotional suffering. It's our fundamental ignorance of who we really are, it's our ego, it's our clinging to pleasure and our running from pain, and that deep fear of change. These are the things that take a neutral thought and turn it into anxiety.
Okay, so if that's the problem, a restless mind that's constantly being colored by suffering, what's the solution? Patanjali doesn't just leave us hanging with philosophy. He lays out a super clear, totally practical, step-by-step method for training the mind. And here it is, the entire system on one slide, the 8-limbed path. You can think of it as a complete training program for your own consciousness. And notice the progression here. It's brilliant. It starts with how we deal with the outside world, and then systematically moves inward, layer by layer, until we get to the deepest parts of ourselves. All right, so let's look at how this whole thing gets started. Before we can even dream of quieting the mind, the sutras are really clear. You have to stabilize your life and how you behave first. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't really find internal peace if your external life is a total mess. So the first 2 limbs are the yamas and niyamas. It's pretty simple. The yamas are basically the don'ts, how we treat other people. Think non-harming, being truthful. Then the niyamas are the do's, how we treat ourselves. Things like contentment and self-study. Together, these 2 create a solid ethical foundation you need for the much deeper work to come. Okay, so once that stable foundation is in place, the path guides us to build a bridge from our external world to our internal world. And it starts with the most obvious, tangible thing we have, our body. And that brings us to limb number 3, asana. And again, this has nothing to do with being an athlete. The sutras describe the perfect posture as simply being steady and comfortable. That's it. The entire point is to create such a stable physical base that you can eventually just forget about your body, letting your awareness move much deeper. From there, we move to pranayama, or breath control. This is so cool. The sutras say that our breath is the physical link between our body and our mind. So by consciously regulating the breath, we literally calm our entire nervous system, which has this direct, powerful, stilling effect on our thoughts. Now we get to pratyahara, and this is the great turning point of the whole practice. This is the moment where we consciously pull our awareness back from the outside world, from the sights, the sounds, the smells. We stop letting our senses drag our attention all over the place, and we intentionally point that spotlight of focus inward. So, we've withdrawn from the outside world, and now we arrive at the purely internal practice. This is the real heart of what most of us think of when we hear the word meditation. This is where the training becomes 100% mental. The 6th limb is dharana, which is concentration. This is the active training part. Okay, think of it like this. You're trying to light a candle in a windy room. Dharana is the repeated effort of striking the match, bringing the flame to the wick, and then a thought just blows it out. So you just try again and again. You're building that muscle of attention. When that concentration finally becomes effortless, it just naturally evolves into the seventh limb, dhyana. To stick with our analogy, the candle is now lit. The wind has died down, and the flame is just burning steadily. You don't have to keep striking the match, your mind just stays on its object. That is true meditation, an uninterrupted, steady flow of awareness. And all of this leads to the final limb, samadhi. This is where you become so completely absorbed in watching that steady flame that the watcher, you, the candle, and the flame all seem to merge into one thing. That separation between you and the object of your focus, it just dissolves. It's a state of total absorption. And this is where the text takes a really fascinating turn. The sutras go on to describe certain abilities, you could even call them powers, that can just naturally pop up as a side effect of this kind of intense, one-pointed focus. Yeah, you're reading that right. The text lists out these siddhas, or perfected abilities. Things like knowing your past lives, being able to read other people's minds, even things like supersensory perception. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a comic book, but it's laid out right there in the text. But then, just when you're thinking, wow, that's the goal, Patanjali hits you with this profound warning. And here's the big twist. These powers, as incredible as they sound, are actually just distractions. They're potential traps for the ego, and they are considered obstacles to the real goal of the whole practice. So, if getting superpowers isn't the point, then what is, right? Why go through all this training? Well, the final chapter of the sutras makes the ultimate aim of this whole path crystal clear. The ultimate goal is to untangle our pure awareness, that silent witness that's always there inside us, from the constant chatter and coloring of our thoughts. It's about finally being able to see things exactly as they are, without all the filters of our ego, our memories, our attachments, and our fears. And this final state is called Kaivalya. It basically means absolute freedom, liberation. It's the state where the seer, your true self, is no longer identifying with all the ups and downs of the mind. It is finally completely established, just resting in its own pure, unchanging nature. You see, the sutras don't just give us a bunch of answers. They give us a detailed, practical roadmap. But in the end, they leave us with the ultimate question to go out and explore for ourselves. By following this path, from ethics all the way to absorption, we're all invited to discover firsthand what actually remains when all that mental static finally fades to silence.